President Trump will swear in the newest Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh tonight in Washington, D.C. This comes after a controversial and narrow vote over the weekend by senators. Good evening, everyone. I'm Clay Gordon in for Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. While there are plenty of people who support Kavanaugh, there are others who are extremely disappointed by the nomination, including a group of Mainers who made the trip down to our nation's capital last week to make their thoughts known. Samantha York traveled with them from start to finish. Sam, what was their response to the vote?
Well, Lindsay, as you can imagine, they were extremely disappointed. I sat in the room with them Friday as Senator Susan Collins read that she would in fact vote yes, and the tears instantly started flowing. They say as sexual assault survivors, this vote was much bigger than a simple yes or no. It was about standing up for what they felt was right and letting other survivors know that they would be believed. Now, so independent Senator Angus King also helped out here. Oh, I guess we don't have the tag board. Let's start this over. Spent 3 days with the people from the group that we left with Wednesday night around 9 p.m. and drove straight through until the next morning. When we got to Washington, D.C., there were cheers and thank yous coming from all over the place. We wanted to show you a couple signs that were brought down there. We'll show those to you in just a moment. The group was determined to meet with Senator Collins and share their stories, and they weren't able to meet with her in person, but they were able to speak with her staff, where they shared some very emotional testimony and begged the senator to vote no. Independent Senator Angus King also played a huge role in their visit. He opened his office doors to them so they would have a place to set up camp, and spoke about their concerns with them.
Now, Sam, there were obviously a lot of protests there. We saw that all over TV, and some arrests as well. Yeah,
it was very, very intense at times. This is just a little taste of what was going on while we were down there, and the Mainers were right in the center of the action.
We're from Maine, and we're here to defeat Kavanaugh. Susan Collins, we are your voters. Support our courts. Support our courts. Support our courts. Don't put a line on the court.
It was very loud, as you can imagine, the entire time. So this is what was happening the whole time that they were there, which is why the few Mainers who stayed behind opted to watch Collins' announcement from King's office. It was nuts outside of her office, and they say it felt way more scary than empowering. It also made things a little more private for them because, like I mentioned, when the vote was cast, the tears started flowing.
I think every single person is feeling the way I'm feeling right now, and it's just like...
What do you feel?
Pissed. I feel like
I'm shocked and lost, and I don't feel like we're heard.
I am furious. She ignored us. She ignored Maine.
So Sam, the final vote happened on Saturday, and we all know how that ended. You were able to talk to Senator Susan Collins just moments after she made that historic vote. Why did she say why she didn't meet with that group of Mainers herself?
Yeah, she did, and it really all came down to timing. She says she did meet with dozens of Mainers, though, some of who were also survivors, and that she listened to and read hours of testimony from people. At the end of the day, Collins says she voted the way she felt was best, despite the constant pressure not to.
I have to apply my best judgment. I cannot weigh the political consequences. In this case, it was obvious there were going to be people very angry at me no matter what I did. And I have to do what I think is right, and that's what I did.
So you can find even more from the trip on our website and mobile app, which is also where you can watch Judge Kavanaugh get sworn in tonight at 7 o'clock by President Trump, and that will also be on our Facebook page.
All right, Sam, thank you so much.
Well, and welcome back. Welcome back to Maine. Really appreciate you going there. All right, let's head over to Mr. Keith Carson. It was cold out there. I had to grab like an in-between fleece winter jacket today.
I was going to say, you know it's cold, Keith, when we start having to use the fleece for Tito.
I was going to say, what is Tito? Tito's kind of doesn't have a ton of fur.
No.
Like, I don't mean that in a negative way,
right.
But he's just,
it's scratchy. He takes no offense,
He's got
Keith.
some fur loss. going on there. Yeah, today was coolish, and we'll change that over the next 2 days, but this is kind of more average temperatures, right? The visible satellite cloudy over southern Maine. We had quite a bit of sun over down east and northern Maine, even into parts of the mid-coast, but it was a split state day where we didn't really see any over southern Maine. Big area of precipitation up into Canada right now. That's actually a warm front that's drifting through. It's going to lift through tonight. Once it does that, our air mass is going to be changing overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. So temperatures are actually going to be rising overnight tonight. So your overnight lows are probably basically what we have right now, and then they go up as we head into tomorrow morning. But take a look at some of these temperatures at this hour, 5 o'clock, 84 in Pittsburgh right now, and 80 in Detroit. Won't be quite to the 84, but I think we have a chance at 80 over the next 2. So hour by hour forecast, again, temperatures rising overnight tonight. A couple of showers over northern Maine, and they continue through early tomorrow morning. Then we break into some sun midday tomorrow, and temperatures rise quickly. 70s statewide easily, upper 70s, and some low 80s over southwestern Maine and into New Hampshire by tomorrow afternoon. And then the same front that brought us the warmth tries to crash right back down into the middle part of the state on Wednesday, and that's when we'll have a true split state forecast where it will be in the 80s over southern Maine and in the 50s over northern Maine. Guys, we'll talk more about that big divergence in temperatures on Wednesday and a look ahead to the weekend in a few minutes.
All right, Keith, thanks. Taking a look now at some headlines for today. There was an explosion earlier at the Irving Oil Refinery in Canada's eastern province of New Brunswick. Flames and thick black smoke were seen rising from the refinery in St. John, a coastal city about 70 miles east of the border with Maine.
Now, witnesses reporting a bed-shaking explosion shortly after 10 a.m. local time. Provincial officials said they believe there were only a couple of minor injuries. People on the scene say the fire was far from under control about 2 hours after the explosion.
Back here at home, a search that went on for days for a missing mother and teacher is over, and now a Maine community is mourning the death of Kristen Westra.
That's right, and authorities determined Westra died by suicide. And Greg Marley from Maine's National Alliance on Mental Illness is here to answer all of our questions when it comes to helping someone that is at risk. He joins us right now.
We will speak with him in just a moment. A search had been underway for nearly a week on the ground and by air. Game wardens helped by using planes and drones to search for the 47-year-old. Her brother told News Center Maine she left in the middle of the night on September 30th. He said she had been stressed and was having trouble sleeping. By Friday, Westra's body was found by children playing in the woods in North Yarmouth, less than a mile from her home. All right, I jumped in a little early. Now, Greg Marley is going to be in with us shortly, but if you know someone that is suffering from suicidal thoughts, there is a crisis hotline. The number is 1-888-568-1112. And Greg, from NAMI, Maine, it sounds like Kristen Westra's loved ones had no idea that this could happen. I spoke with her brother on the phone while they were searching for her, and he said she is the most selfless person. So how can we tell that somebody is at risk, and what can we do?
Well, I didn't know Krista. I was aware that she, her husband had some concerns about her, and she had seen somebody for some mental health concerns. The big thing is keep your eyes open for changes in behavior. If someone is more depressed than they had been, more anxious, they're restless, they're isolating, withdrawing, ask them how they're doing. What we believe is that most of the time suicide is preventable, but that prevention rests on all of us to check in with someone we're concerned about.
Now, let's say you maybe see a couple warning signs. How do you even start a conversation like this, especially when it's a close loved one of yours? How do you even begin to talk to them?
I think the big first words are, hey, I'm worried about you. And then you talk about what you've seen that are changes and say, how you doing? I mean, really, how are you doing? Because in Maine here, the first time someone asks you how you're doing, you'll say fine. You need to show that you're really serious. And stay with them. Don't leave them alone if you're at all worried.
Why is it so challenging to admit when we need help sometimes?
The stigma. The stigma around mental health issues, and certainly the stigma around suicide. We are taught that we're all supposed to be doing well, and in the age of Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, even more so. So it's harder to show that when we're struggling. And it's really, you know, we don't want to be a burden on someone. We want to respect someone's privacy. But absolutely, if you're concerned, that's the time to ask.
Now we talked about the crisis hotline just moments ago too. What are some of the other resources available that maybe you could call, reach out to if you're feeling some of these dangerous thoughts, or you know someone that might be thinking that?
Well, the crisis hotline is excellent because it's available 24 hours a day. If it seems less immediate, your primary care physician, they often have embedded behavioral health folks there who are really good at talking about mental health and safety concerns. A pastor, anybody who's in a position of authority, and if it's a real crisis and someone runs and they're really at risk, call the police. First, slow them down, and then we can have that conversation.
Greg, thank you so much for joining us on News Center Maine Live. Stick around because we do have Facebook viewers and people on YouTube who are watching right now that are going to ask their questions for you during the commercial break, and you'll be able to answer those live. Thank you so much for your time. All right, switching gears now to a happier story, a walk down the aisle at Walker's Point over the weekend.
Now, the bride is the daughter of former President George W. Bush and the granddaughter of former President George H.W. Bush. She shares her name with her grandmother, former First Lady Barbara Bush. Now, the couple exchanging vows at a secret ceremony at the family's summer home in Kennebunkport.
We are loving the photos from the wedding of former first daughter Barbara Bush and screenwriter Craig Coyne. Her something borrowed was a bracelet that her grandfather gave to his wife on their 70th wedding anniversary. We have way more pictures of the wedding at our website and mobile app.
It really looks like a magazine, and it's going to probably be in a lot of magazines.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a new invention was made in Maine this weekend. Coming up, we get to see the pretzel pacifier.
You're going to love that. And a Maine Marine is walking so other veterans can fly. We'll explain. So much for all the last minute stuff. I appreciate it. So come over here with us, and we will stand right about we can stand right about here or so. And let's see. I have to fire up our Facebook Live that we have going on right now. And one question we didn't get to on air was, have you seen an increase in the amount of calls that NAMI Maine has been getting since the search had started, since the news came out over the weekend?
NAMI Maine is not a crisis line, but certainly crisis programs across the state typically see a surge in the kind of calls, particularly because we had this suicide. There was also a suicide last week in northern Maine, much more tragic, much more public, of a woman jumping in front of a truck. And two people in the same week, both of them mothers, it makes people wonder what's going on.
Right, especially when you just think it's somebody that you would last think to do something like this. Let's see if we're getting any questions here. A lot of people are still chiming in about the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation. So, yeah, I think we're not getting any actual questions right now. But guys, if you have questions for Greg Marley from NAMI Maine, he's here to talk about something that we're also going to talk a lot more about coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. Shannon Moss sat down with a colleague of yours earlier today, I believe. Did she talk with you or your colleague?
It was our executive director,
Sure. So it's just a conversation that is an important one to have, although it is very, very difficult to even start. I think it's great that you said, even if someone says they're fine, stay with them. Yeah. See it through. Are they really fine? Those are questions we have to ask ourselves.
I have one for you.
Yeah.
Social media, in the world of social media, are you seeing a lot more people reporting tips from posts?
It's interesting. We work a great deal with schools, and what we're hearing from school staff around the state is that more of their tips are coming from students who say, hey, I read something that a friend posted last night. I'm really worried about him. What do you think we should do? And several instances where lives have been saved by people following up, reporting tips.
Michael wants to know, do you think environmental factors have a big impact? And we do have to go. Greg, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Jeff, we'll take your microphone for you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you can go this way. Thank you. Mainers are curious about Indigenous Peoples Day. According to Google Trends, Maine is among the top 10 regions searching the hashtag for it today. South Dakota, DC, and Vermont are also at the top. Maine is at number 9.
And when you pull up the calendar on your iPhone, you'll see it honors both Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day today. There has been a growing movement to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day, also known by some as Native Americans Day.
In 2015, Belfast became the first municipality in Maine to change the holiday from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. Then in 2017, Portland, Brunswick, Bangor, Orono, and Starks followed. Goldsboro is celebrating its first Indigenous Peoples Day today. So you never know what can happen live on live television or right before we go live, and that was the case for News Center Maine's Samantha Sugarman over the weekend. Take a look. You guys okay?
Samantha was reporting from Norwalk for the bridge dedication for the late Corporal Eugene Cole. No one was hurt in that ATV crash, luckily. I can't believe it. That happened right behind her. Now, authorities say Bridge Road, where this happened, is an ATV access road like several roads here in Maine. So it's not against the law to drive an ATV there. Most roads in Maine are not legal for ATVs to drive on. Remarkable footage from that scene. Well, coming up, we get to see the pretzel pacifier, a tasty treat that can help kids sleep.
And someone who doesn't use pacifiers, unless it's for his child Luca, Keith Carson, is here with his forecast. Jeff, did you get the microphone back?
I did.
Okay. I have to apologize really quickly to Michael. Michael, I'm so sorry we didn't get to answer your question. But I do believe, in case you're just joining us late, Greg Marley was talking during our live interview about environmental factors in terms of social media, at least. He does believe have an impact. Facebook, Instagram, we're constantly comparing ourselves to others. He did say during the interview that environmental factors like that do play a role, he believes. So I hope that answers your question. I'm so sorry we did not get to that. We ran out of time. John says, hey, Clay and Lindsay, it's nice to see you guys sharing the desk. Thanks, John. That's so
Thanks, John.
sweet.
Appreciate it. I would chime in, but my Facebook is not working that well.
Oh, no.
It never is when I anchor.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. And then it'll pop up on the side. And so Tom Parker is watching. Yes, it is like
Tom.
old times, Tom. Thank you guys for the heads up with the tech issues. So yeah, Maine is among the top regions in the whole nation searching Indigenous Peoples Day on Google.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So tell us about your story today.
Oh, this is a cool one. Man walked from Mount Pelier, Vermont, all the way to Portland, Maine, 171 miles, 3 days. Can you believe that? 70 miles the first day.
Yeah. Which
is truly remarkable. And he's doing it for Honor Flight. He's trying to help out some of the senior, as they call them, the senior heroes, the veterans that served in some of the older wars, and try to get there to see the memorials that they actually fought for. So.
And that was nice. He had such a crowd greeting him as he finished that up. That's awesome.
And I'm happy too, because I got there a little early and there was no one. And I thought I was going to be the only one. And then you saw some people trickling in. They saw it on Facebook. I saw it on Instagram. You showed me on Facebook as well his story, and. He said he was actually nervous to talk to me after the whole entire walk. That was the most nerve-wracking part for him. So.
Wow. We do love when you guys let us know what you're interested in and what you want to see, and that was an example of that. We always talk about the segment Ask Now, but this is another example too. If you guys let us know something cool is going on, we listen, we look at it, and we love it. Yeah. So thank you guys for that.
Okay. Good. Sit by.
Honor Flight New England sends veterans to Washington, D.C. to see the memorials dedicated to the wars they fought in. The organization says some return describing it as the best day ever, aside from getting married and having children.
We met one veteran who is walking the walk to make future trips possible.
Maine Marine Blake Toth going on a long walk.
Tons of honks and tons of people stopped me along the way. To all those people, they're the ones who made it possible, because when I was fighting the demons, that's what really pulled me through.
Toth is raising money for Honor Flight New England.
It's 171 miles.
Let's walk the entire route of 302.
Andrew Woody and his son came to Deering Oaks Park to watch him finish.
I mean, Blake's the kind of guy that helps other people, and I figure, you know what, it's time to give back to Blake.
They've been following his footsteps on social media, from his starting point in Montpelier, Vermont, to Portland, Maine, breaking up the trip into 3 days, spending his nights in a tent.
It was definitely cold and scary at times, but it was all right.
For him to do this for us is just incredibly moving and inspiring.
Honor Flight New England surprising him with more mileage.
Yeah. October 21st, what are you doing? You're going to be on a flight with us, with your heroes, brother. I want to show him what he raised money for. I know that he considers our most senior heroes his heroes, so I want to have him participate on the flight with us.
His fundraising taking off too, over halfway towards a $5,000 goal.
It gives them, you know, just one last opportunity for us to say thanks, and that's really what it's all about, is for us to thank them, because they gave us so much, and you know, I probably wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for the things that they did.
Walking the tracks of the veterans before him, paving the way for more to come. All right, so I have to say that since I posted the story about 4 hours ago, it jumped in fundraising for about $400. So he got an extra $400 since I talked to him earlier today. And I asked Toth what he has planned for tonight. You know, he's walked for 3 straight days. What do you do tonight? He says he's going to watch Monday Night Football. And I think that's great. He missed all of Sunday, the entire Sunday for walking. So it's football night.
How do you live with himself?
One step at a time.
Yeah.
It's a cozy night to be in watching Monday Night Football.
It is. I don't even know who's playing, though. I feel like the last couple of years, those games have been just trash.
It always
just
throws
terrible.
me off when the Patriots play on a Thursday night.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, no, I agree.
I asked him, too, if that was the timing. Like, did you schedule the walk-in before?
Yeah.
While the Patriots already played? He said no, it was
See what they're doing here?
Yeah, you're
They're
getting the hook.
That's it.
They're telling us, do the weather.
Moving along. Let's do a little weather. Total mixed day depending on where you were. Southern Maine didn't see much in the way of sunshine. Down east and northern Maine saw a lot of sun. So we're going to see a lot of split state forecasts. Another one's coming up on Wednesday, but the roles will be reversed then. A lot of showers out here. This is a warm front. This warm front is going to lift through tonight, and that's why temperatures will actually rise overnight tonight. There'll be an isolated shower in the mountains. You can already see it sneaking in there. Most of us, though, remain dry, and it's an air mass change that we see. Look at the difference between Portland at 51, Philly at 70, 84 in Pittsburgh, even at this hour. So a bunch of warm air here that's going to lift in tonight. We won't be 84, but we have a chance to get to what Detroit is sitting at right now, which is 80 degrees by tomorrow afternoon. So watch the hour-by-hour forecast. There's a lot of clouds, but notice temperatures actually go up overnight tonight. So by tomorrow morning, a lot of us are in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees with just a scattered shower. We break a lot of these clouds up here through the mid-morning, and then we start rolling into the 70s, upper 70s, and touching 80 for a brief period of time. Tomorrow afternoon around 3 o'clock, you can see Portland, Lewiston, Freiburg, Augusta, Waterville have the best chance, but it'll be mild all the way up into Caribou and Presque Isle as well. Then the same front comes back through the state. We see this a lot in the spring too, where we get the temperatures crashing back down. So Wednesday will feature an isolated shower, but a huge contrast in temperatures depending on where you're located. So again, tomorrow is uniformly warm, upper 70s to around 80 degrees. But look at Wednesday's temperature profile. Look where that front is. We go from 80 to 60 to 60 to 46 for a high up in Caribou. I want to take you down in the tropics real quick. This is Hurricane Michael. This one is, I don't want to say it's sneaking up on us because we can see it very clearly, but now forecast to be a Cat 3 hurricane as it moves into the northern part of Florida, somewhere around Tallahassee, roughly, and then moving up the eastern seaboard from there. I'm showing you this because, one, it's a national story, and two, some of that energy may approach us by next weekend, and we'll see how close that comes to us. Right now it's forecast to be offshore, but if it moves closer, it'll be windy. Until then, mild the next 2 days, and I can't really lock the weekend in yet because Michael has a big role in what happens there. So chances are it's nice. It's partly cloudy with the chance of a windstorm. So we kind of have to see where Michael goes exactly before we can drive that in. But 80s the next day or two will be something for October.
So you can't rule out that Michael might affect us.
Right. It would not be a hurricane, it's worth noting, but it would be a windy event. And because of last year, people are very heightened to that. So CMP and all them, there's maybe some wind that could happen. So keep an eye on that.
We'll catch you off there. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Keith. Thanks. Okay, the Freiburg Fair has come to an end, and the highlights for one main family was the soft pretzels. Check this out. Oliver Wertinen leaving the fair over the weekend. Look at his pretzel pacifier. Is he just the cutest? Okay, this is my favorite part. He has the pretzel pacifier in the mouth, and then his mom goes to take the pretzel away, but he wakes up and says, no, 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 no. Give me that. I need that back. And off to sleep he goes.
I'm happy you shared this because I can't imagine, I can't remember how many times I've been eating food and I just fall asleep like that. It happens quite often.
It does.
That is sad. She tried to keep that a secret.
I know.
I know.
Secret's
Yeah.
out. Airing our dirty laundry. Pat Callahan's here. A lot more coming up on News Center Maine at 5:30.
Yeah, it sure is. Mental health experts are saying that everyone can play a part in suicide prevention, and it all begins with being a good listener. We'll look into that. Postal workers in Bangor and Portland joined colleagues across the country at rallies to oppose what they say is an effort by the Trump administration to privatize the Postal Service. And pumpkin spice lattes and jack-o'-lanterns are all well and good, but perhaps the noblest use of the giant pumpkin is as a boat in Maine's annual Pumpkin Regatta. Not always so seaworthy, but always fun. So we'll check that out too.
Awesome, Pat. Thanks so much. Stick around. Raindrops when we come back. All right, everybody. Time for brain drops.
I got a teaser of what today's brain drops is. It has to do with beef.
Beef.
Where's the beef?
Beef, it's what's for dinner. We'll see after this brain drop.
Does Keith have beef with somebody?
Keith has beef with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Actually, we're back on good terms with them.
Are we?
you saying media in general or you?
No, I don't know.
A minute for brain drops.
All right, we're gonna have to roll.
Oh, I don't have to stand on the box today, do I?
No.
How is that possible? I'm taller than Lee.
Are you?
No. Yeah.
Oh. I don't know.
You want me to grab it?
No. I'm putting these away.
All right, so Keith, what else is going on?
Nothing, just the beef. I like that you guys match. That's real cute.
It was actually not intentional
very
today.
Very adorable.
Not intentional. I left the house a little earlier. She's got to stay for the debates tonight.
Oh, yes. The debates.
Got to get those neutral colors
Who we
in,
got
you know
tonight?
what I'm saying?
Who's debating tonight?
Tonight is that's a good thing to talk about, I guess. The
probably
2nd
have mentioned
Congressional
that.
District.
Poliquin and
Poliquin,
Goldman,
we
and
have
who's the other one?
Golden, we have Horror, H-O-R-R.
I don't know that.
And Tiffany Bond?
There's definitely a Tiffany. I just know
There's
the ones
four.
who have spent millions of dollars on our network so far. Those are the ones that,
well, this is actually, this race
Is
is very expensive.
straight cash.
When we air your weather promos, is it
Yeah.
the same thing? Like the
Yeah, we make as
millions
much
of
money.
dollars?
Make as much money on those.
Guys, use the hashtag ME02debate. It's going to change with whatever debate's going on, and I'm going to look for any questions you have or comments that we're going to take right to the candidates.
Oh, people will have comments. You might want to just move this a little bit.
Slide.
Oh, it's false alarm.
I know. Usually we go right into brain drops
Yeah.
after the brain drop spot.
You forecasted that well.
It's a nice 4-second ID.
Wait, 80s? We're going back to the 80s?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
a little close.
Good thing you got that central air.
I think it's going to turn around. We're using the camera on it now. I think it'll spin for you. It better spin.
But it's not going to get any farther away.
Time for your close-up.
All right, I've given you guys a way out if you enjoy beef. I have no problem with that myself. But there's a problem. It creates a lot of emissions from all the way from grazing them, obviously, to the slaughterhouse. Interesting article in Quartz, which is a great website if you get a chance. They've got all kinds of weird tidbits. But they're talking about the fact, keep scrolling down here, that so the United States does consume a lot of beef. But it actually is much more efficient and therefore has less general cattle and puts less CO2 in the environment. Let's go down a little bit more. Brazil, by the way, #1 per capita in cattle consumption. And basically, we've been good at using all of the animal. We've got a better supply chain. And so even though we eat a lot of beef in this country, we're contributing less to climate change than Brazil, India, a lot of other countries. So the answer may not be eating less, but the rest of the world getting a little bit more efficient with the beef itself.
Interesting.
So Wendy's ad there somewhere.
Exactly. Okay. News on Demand at 5:30 starts now. Just a smidge. I feel like you got the point across. Bye, guys. Have a great day. I wanted to ask you.